Good afternoon, Steph. How you doing? You well?
Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, blessed, always, in always, no complaints over here. Excited to talk to you though, because you're a CEO, co-founder
Hmm.
of Meji Foods, and you
Hmm.
guys have got, well, you've done the impossible, really, and produced a 90-second jollof rice product that's already in stores. For those who want to say that will never work, it's already in stores, it's already working. But what I really wanted to get into is the inspiration behind even attempting to bring this to market. What was it that made you guys sit down? You and your business partner, you'll tell me her name in a minute. What made it something that you guys said is doable?
Um, so I would say the inspiration actually just came from God slash us being kind of two corporate girls that didn't want to kind of stay in corporate forever. We used to actually run a hair business together. So my business partner's name is Ruth. We initially started selling hair. So we were selling hair extensions, and then the pandemic meant that we had to close the business, unfortunately. But our passion, that basically ignited our passion for business. So we was like, cool, we definitely want to do something else. But what exactly can we do, right? And we knew kind of based on what we were doing before, we wanted something that would be suitable for everyone. So we just kind of started thinking of ideas, thinking of ideas, thinking of ideas. And then one day, literally, God said to me, instant jollof rice. And it was so crazy, so random. This was 3 years ago. So this was like 2021. And I said it to my business partner. She was like, why not? Let's try it. So we then started doing a lot of research. And yeah, here we are. But I guess the kind of inspiration and what made us kind of go with it was the fact that, like I said, we were both corporate girls, which meant that although we are kind of Nigerian heritage and that's, Nigerian British, we didn't actually have the time to cook our home cooked meals, our home loved meals, because we was working so much and life was just busy. So things like jollof rice, which normally takes like 2 hours to cook, we thought, okay, if there's a way that we can make it available in 90 seconds, then why not? So yeah, here we are,
So
essentially.
it didn't seem like the impossible then, even when, because that was going to be my next question. It's a traditional dish, which means so
Mhm.
much to so many people. We've all seen the arguments over who does
Yeah.
the best jollof. You're obviously going to say Nigerian, but I was looking at what you've done and saying to myself, but it takes ages to make. So didn't
Mhm.
that put you off?
So for me, right, nothing is ever impossible. Like I don't actually believe in that word impossible. And then I Googled it and there was a company that had there was only one other company that was doing it before. So that made me realize, okay, it actually is possible to do, right? And Uncle Ben's have all their kind of different flavors. I just thought, surely, if they can make like palau rice, if they can make Mexican rice, surely making jollof rice is not like it can't be impossible. So yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, no, it didn't seem impossible to me. Nothing is ever really impossible, right? There's always a way for something. This is back in 2021, right? So this was 3 years ago. The first thing was the idea. So first step, had the idea, okay, cool. Then did a bit of research into just like the instant rice market, instant foods, like just manufacturing, just did a lot of research. So it was around, I guess, 6 months of just like researching, desk research, having conversations, even finding a supplier. It was so difficult. It was really difficult to find a supplier. But through that research, eventually we found a supplier, right? And then they were already kind of doing their own version. So they sent us their pouches to try. And we tried it and we was like, yeah, absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way. So then we went into the lab. Ruth made her version of jollof rice. I made mine. And then we tested, okay, whose jollof rice is better? Ruth's one was better. So it was like, cool, how can we now translate her recipe into an instant version? So we worked with our supplier. We spent months going back and forth, sending them a recipe. They'd send us a version. No, don't like it. You need to add this. Literally co-created with them till we then came up with a recipe that was like, okay, this works. This makes sense. He sent it to us and was like, okay, yeah, it works. So that was probably like a year in. And then once we did that, we then worked on like the packaging. So getting the packaging designed, even working out the name, it took us ages. We started with like Mama's Jollof to like, it's like finding the name was like so difficult. But then Ruth's mum actually gave us the name for Meji, and Meji means two in Yoruba, and it's short for Oromeji, which is two friends. So two friends, shortened
One
it.
bag of rice, two people.
Literally. And then we just kept going. Like, the thing is, there were a lot of setbacks on the way. I'm not gonna lie. Like, what we now talking from this point, looking at myself 3 years ago, I'm like, what was you even like? Huh? Like, you just kind of going with something, you're just going. Now I'm like, even me, I'm like, wow, you actually did that. But it's literally, instead of looking at the end journey, it was just taking the next step. Okay, cool. First step, find the supplier. What's got the supplier? Okay, cool. Work out the recipe. Okay, what's got the recipe? Okay, what does the packaging look like? Literally breaking it up into like bite-sized chunks. And then it's just like, just snowball effect, just kept going.
I can imagine when you presented what you guys are, I guess, determined as the final product to be tested. What was that like? What was the reception like?
Yeah, the reception, like, to be honest, as soon as we had the idea, everyone said, this is a good idea. Like, no one actually, and I guess I've missed out that step of like asking around. So we did spend in the kind of like product development phase. I'm just kind of, like I said, I'm a yapper, I'm a talker, right? So everyone I talk to, oh, so what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And everyone that I spoke to, everyone that Ruth spoke to, everyone was like, this is actually a really good idea. Like, no one said no, like, it doesn't make sense, X, Y, Z. And that might have been just based on like the community that we was in, right? People that are like-minded to us, right? So no one kind of said no. And then when we had the samples, we did a lot of taste testing. So I've got videos, like me, I just like to record everything, right? So I literally have videos of us 3 years ago having different bowls of rice with like labels and stuff. And we'd be there tasting it, taking notes, and then giving it to like our family, Ruth's husband at the time, to test it, give us their feedback, right? So there was a lot of kind of co-creation and working with people and getting a lot of people's kind of like feedback on the journey as well. And I guess kind of in terms of like what you said about the pushing forward, it's literally every step there's a new obstacle. From, like I said, working out supplier, minimum order quantity, how are we going to fund this? There was always like a new obstacle that we faced, but it was always just understanding that, okay, any obstacle that we face, we actually have the ability to conquer it and pass it if we put our heads down and just like focus. Like, you can always find a way to work out the answer to a problem. That's the way I see it. Like, the problems might get harder, but there's always an answer. There's always a solution to every problem. And yeah, it was just that kind of persistence in, okay, this is the problem. How are we going to figure this out? This is the problem. How are we going to figure it out? Because now we're in, there's no quitting, there's no turning back, like, we have to see it to the end. We spoke about it now, right? People are expecting this. So yeah, as I said, there was a lot of kind of speaking to other people, getting a lot of people's feedback. And even once we had the product, between launching and having the product, there was a lot more time than expected, right? So I ended up actually having a lot of samples. What I'll do, I'd go out and then start giving it out to like wider people. What do you think of this? Give me your feedback. What do you think of the packaging? Like, it was a lot. That was done for like a year. So it was like a year of research and development, a year of like user testing, and then the third year was like launch to the market. So yeah, that's
You seem like you're built for entrepreneurship, just from talking to, having interviewed so many people in this position, launch a product. You seem like you're really built for entrepreneurship. Is that something that you've kind of realized as this journey's gone on, or did what you did previously in your corporate world prepare you for this?
Yeah, I think it's been something that I've always kind of thought, and it kind of goes back to like not having that self-belief in yourself sort of thing, which is why I've always kind of done it on the side. So Meji's actually my third business, right? So although I was working in corporate and I was successful in corporate, I was a consultant, I was always just interested in a side hustle and side business. And like I said, the first business was selling hair. The second business that I did, it went into like property renovation, right? And I actually made 6 figures from that. I started like a whole YouTube, Instagram page and gained like a lot of followers, and people were really interested in the journey. And this was just from me like, being like, oh, let me just let me try this. And it worked. And I think that's kind of what gave me the, oh, you know, maybe you can do this, right? But again, I would have never gone full time into entrepreneurship if I wasn't made redundant at the end of last year from my corporate job. So that's kind of what gave me the push, because if that never happened, I would have never left. I would have always had that kind of safety net. And it's like that safety net was removed. And the kind of work that I did in corporate, so like I said, I was a consultant. With consultancy, you work on like different projects and different clients and stuff, right? I could never stay in one client too long because I would always get bored. Like I'd always, as soon as I learned the answer to the problem, I'd be like, okay, what's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? And then it got to a point where it was no longer like, I just didn't feel like I was being fulfilled on that side of the world. It just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't for me anymore. I felt like I was being called in a different direction. But yeah, I was being called in a different direction, but I didn't actually have the like self-belief that I could do it until I was just like, you know what? This is my situation. I might as well just try it now rather than regret it later. Yeah.
Sainsbury's, that's a big thing. When that actually, you know, that was real, became real, you know, you signed on the dotted line. That must have been a moment for you and your business partner.
Definitely. I think so with me and my business partner, we're very opposite, right? So even though she's corporate babe as well, she's like a numbers, logic. She's an accountant, right? So she needs to see before she believes, whereas I believe before I see, right? So for me, I was just like I just throw things at the wall. I'm like, let me just throw. Then when something sticks, it's like, oh, okay. So with Sainsbury's, I think that was the proof for her that this is something real. I think that gave her the kind of like, oh wow. And for me, it was like, oh wow as well. We both had that wow moment, but our wow meant different things for each other. Mine was like, oh, okay, people actually people understand the vision. Her wow was like, oh, this could actually work. And I think that's when everything kind of changed for us. That's when it was like, okay, cool, like let's get serious with this. Let's actually like put our heads down. Let's focus more, because before it was just like I said, on the side, running with it. With Sainsbury's, it was like, wow, we can't mess this one up. Like,
yeah, I fully get that. How do you see what you're doing disrupting the space? I can imagine you've looked at this, who runs things, who's the big dog out there. So how do you see Meji Foods disrupting?
With Meji, I see it disrupting as like, just for me, I want it, a lot of the things that we see that are like kind of sold to Black people and to like us, they're not actually like Black owned, or the faces behind it aren't actually, you know, owned by us. And that's not to say it's a bad thing, but for me with Meji, I think the importance of Meji and the significance of it is the fact that it's actually ran by two Nigerian Black British girls who've come up with the recipe themselves and are driving something forward with like no big force behind us. It's literally from the ground up. And for me, I just want it to be, you know, like I said, I've been in a lot of places where people that look like us might not necessarily fit in or might not be accepted. And with Meji, we are for everyone. We don't want anyone to ever feel like they can't be part of the family and they can't have a part to play. Do you know what I mean? I want Meji to just create more opportunities for people that might not have access to certain opportunities based on other things. Do you know what I mean? And where we see Meji going is, one day we want Meji to be like Indomie, like the likes of Indomie, like the likes of Uncle Ben's, to really be a household name like across the world, essentially. So yeah, I just feel like if that happens, when it happens, it will just open so many doors, create so many opportunities for like the community, young people that, you know, they want to start something, they don't even know where to start, how to do it, just to show you can kind of do anything, you know. We're two corporate girls, we're now doing a food instant food business, like you can do anything you put your mind to. And yeah, I just want it to be kind of like an inspiration. If they can do it, why can't I do it? You know, that's how I always felt in life.
It starts with rice. Where does it go next?
It's a good it's a very good question. So we want to do another variation of the rice. We've had a lot of requests for like a spicy version, so that is currently in the works. And then it's literally like the world is our oyster. Could be instant meals, it can be clothing, it can be snacks. Like there's so many different things that we want to dip our hands into. So literally keep your eyes peeled. We're working behind the scenes. We're working. We're not letting up, essentially.
Sustainability, because you're such a small packet, gets used straight away, dash way. How did you tackle all of that?
Yeah, I think sustainability is definitely something at our forefront. And even with like our kind of continuous improvement, we are looking for ways that we can continuously improve our packaging so that it is more in line with sustainability. And yeah, so that is something that we are kind of focusing on over the next coming months to years to just really make sure, okay, cool. The product that we're using and making and creating also needs to support the environment as well. So that is definitely something at the top of our agenda. And it will start with our packaging and then later.
And what about key collaborations? I guess you probably want to partner with a few different organizations, companies, or would you? I don't know. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the key ones we want to partner with is, well, for me, Murky HQ. I think that's just like a great, that for me would be like a great kind of
natural synergy, right?
Literally.
He's got to like it first though, and he's Ghanaian, isn't he?
Literally, yep. Well, Meji is, even though it's made by two
Don't
Nigerians,
worry, that's me getting into the politics. Don't worry.
It's West African. It's for all of us. My business co-founder, she's married to a Ghanaian, right? So it's even good that she came up with the recipe because, you know, so it's West African. The rice that we use is actually basmati as well. So it is for everyone. We're not involved in the Nigerian, Ghanaian, Sierra Leonean debate. Meji is Meji for everybody.
I like how you dropped out Senegal, but we'll get into that another time. Let me ask you a question before we wrap them. You, like you mentioned, you're blazing a trail to Black, British, Nigerian women. You know, you're going to be poster girls when the global success comes your way. So I'm wondering if you've got any advice for anybody who's got an idea in their mind and they just kind of want to get on with it, but know how to. I think you've done a great job of outlining it in this interview. But anything that is succinct that you think that they should kind of take on board.
So for anyone who is interested in starting something, I would say get really clear on the vision of your idea, whatever it is, write it down. Like just write it down. I used to just write my ideas down. And then I would say just do a lot of research. Look into it. And then also don't be afraid to fail. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to like do what you want to do or say even what you're working on, because there's power in kind of like saying it out loud and having conversations. I think a lot where people go wrong is that they don't believe in themselves that they would actually have the ability to do what they want to do. Whereas to me, I'm just like, you have to think big in this life. Just think as big as you can and then work out, okay, cool. That's my end goal. How do I get there? You know, and it can be maybe you need to partner up with someone, work out what you're good at, what you think you can bring to the table. Then if you feel like, okay, in the beginning stages, I might need to work with someone else, find someone to partner up with. Like, I always think things are easy when you do it with somebody else. 2 is better than 1, right? And yeah, don't be afraid to fail and just know that it's all going to be kind of continuous learning. Like I said, this is my 3rd business. This is my 3rd time doing it. The first one, I didn't know what I was doing. Second one, I knew more, but I still didn't really know what I'm doing. 3rd, again, still learning every day. But I think what is different is that my mindset, and like for me, the way I think is more like, okay, this can happen. This can be a reality. I might not see it in real life, but I know what I want. I know what I want to see. I have a vision that I want to go forward with. And I have that like here. And it's literally what keeps me up at night. Back in the day, like 3 years ago, that's what was like motivated me. I kind of trained my mind to like people call it delulu, right? Delulu is the salulu. That's when you're like delusional. But it's like you have to be so convinced in your mind that I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, that you literally start acting like you can do it. And then when you start acting like you can do it, you realize, oh, I can actually do it. So again, it sounds like a bit of waffle, but basically, to summarize that, it all starts with self-belief and going against the grain, not being afraid to go against the grain, not being afraid to put yourself out there, not being afraid to kind of like I said, do something different, and then just following the journey wherever it takes you. Like literally, it will take you like this, but you've just got to be able to like be like, okay, cool, I'm going to submit to the process and yeah, see where it goes.
Really appreciate your time, Steph. Anything else you want to share with us before we part ways?
No, just that I hope everyone who watches this enjoys Meji and gets a chance to buy it when they can from Sainsbury's or for our website, and all feedback is much appreciated. Again, we want it to be as community focused as possible. So yeah, we want people to join the Meji community. So feel free to reach out to us on our socials, Meji Foods, www.megifoods.co.uk, and yeah, spread the word. Meji to the world.